Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Anna is there? Okay. Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are continuing the series on the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta, because the Acharya said in the Vivekachudamani that what is cause for bondage? So this Konama Bandhaha, what is cause for bondage? In response to that question, he said it is Anatma and Atma Vichara. After doing that, where Anatmani Atma notion, that means the understanding that Anatma is Atma, the confusion is the cause for bondage. So when I take Anatma as this Atma, Anatma includes starting from the body and mind and intellect, anything that can be objectified, anything that is other than the subject, and that comes under Anatma. Atma is the self, the subject, and anything other than Atma, anything other than the subject comes under Anatma, starting from anything that I can objectify, my own mind, the thoughts, the intellect, Antakarana, Sula Sarira, Sushma Sarira, causal body, Karana Sarira, everything that can be pointed out and analyzed is an object for my analysis, and the subject which cannot be objectified. So that becomes the Anatma. In Anatmani, Atma notion that I am the Anatma is the fundamental problem, and that's because of I do not know myself. So the cause for identifying myself as Anatma, the self is non-self as a self, only because I do not know completely my true nature, and therefore that becomes a fundamental problem, and therefore avidya or ignorance is the problem. Now the question being asked, essentially, who has the avidya? How did avidya becomes a cause for the creation itself? The Brahman has avidya or the Jiva has avidya? All these questions being addressed. For that, we want to find out what exactly is a Jiva Swarupam. Jiva Swarupam means nature of the Jiva. When we say Jiva, what exactly is involved? We said there are 5 components in the Jiva. One is the Sthula Sariram, starting from the Anatma, Sthula Sariram, the gross body, the Sukshma Sariram, the subtle body, and Karana Sariram, the causal body. These 3 bodies are obvious in the waking state, and the dream state, and the deep sleep state. And the one that enlivens these bodies, because all bodies are inert by nature, and they are activated or they become also as a conscious entity by the reflected consciousness, that is the Chidabhasa. So Chidabhasa means the reflection of the consciousness in the subtle body, and through the subtle body, the gross body. So everything is getting reflected. It's not just a reflection of some light, it's a reflection of the consciousness. That means it activates the body. Yes, sanidhi matrena, by its mere presence of it, the whole body, mind, intellect are dynamically active, and the body is functioning, and the morning, from morning to evening, and day in and day out, the heart is pumping, the digestive system, the excreted system, every prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, all physiological functions going on. I'm able to think, I'm able to recollect, I'm able to see. All activities of the life activities itself is going on. We just said we don't know what life it is, but manifestation is life is because of the reflected consciousness. And that is the 4th aspect. The 3 are the Sthula Sarira, the Sushma Sarira, and the Karana Sarira. the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. These are the three bodies, and that which activates all the three bodies by the reflecting process is called Chidabhasa, is the fourth, which that means is a reflected consciousness, or RC, or all other things are reflecting medium. And what is that getting reflected? It is the pure consciousness that is all pervading, that is the original consciousness, we call it OC. So there is original consciousness, that is Satchidananda, from which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. For that, Vedanta becomes a pramana, or a means of knowledge. And that is defined as pure consciousness, because the Vedanta defines as Prajnanam Brahma. Consciousness alone is infinite. So there cannot be anything other than consciousness. And if there is something other than consciousness, it's not really real, it's only apparent. So this comes from the scriptural statement. And now we are looking at the structure of the Jivatma. You said there are 5 components, and the OC, the original consciousness, the reflected consciousness, and the 3 bodies. 3 bodies can be packed into one aspect, or you can say 3 aspects are involved, or essentially the 2 aspects, or so on and so forth. All that can be depending upon the context in which it is being defined. So in the scriptures, emphasis is done depending upon the contextual nature of what Jiva really means. Having analyzed this, now I ask the question, why we need to know only one aspect of it? Original consciousness is there as a part of it, and the reflected consciousness and the reflected medium is only 1/5 of this. So why should we give importance to the original consciousness and ignore the fact that we have the reflected consciousness and the gross body, subtle body, and all that? In fact, the consciousness cannot be seen, it cannot be object. What can be seen? Only the gross body, and we can analyze the subtle body and the nidra state, during deep sleep state, causal body. So the bodies are only one that we are transacting with, and therefore those who are interested only at the body level, that is only materialistic philosophy. And we had that even in the ancient time. We call it a Charvaka philosophy, and that's what is any material scientist thinking only that which can be analyzed, or that which should be codified, that which will be quantified is only science, otherwise it's not a science. So he's also materialistic philosopher. So and an atheist thinks that that's all the thing there is nothing beyond that, because we cannot prove it, because he is looking for a proof in objectifiable way, and since it is not an object, so you cannot find a proof for it. But yet the total system involves all the 5. So why should we give importance to the one of it? The reason one of the importance is, it is the substantive. It is from which the whole universe came. That is the bottom line, or adhishthanam. Adhishthanam means that which supports the whole thing. And that's why it is important. Other things is only superficial. So that's why Vedanta says itself, what was there before creation is pure existent consciousness, and itself became many. So therefore it is the cause, and everything else is a product. So the Karanam and Karyam. Karanam is only one, that is that which is Satchidananda Swarupam, and Karyam are many, and therefore products are many. And this emphasis in what is the cause for creation, what is the cause for myself, what is the cause for the universe, is the intellectual curiosity. An intelligent person wants to know, and that itself is knowing that everything can be known. And that's essentially what Vedanta says. Kasmin no bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. Sir, please teach me that, knowing which I will know everything. Or eka vijñānena sarva vijñānam bhavati. This is a statement in the Chandogya Upanishad. The statement in the Mundaka Upanishad says these statements are done because Upanishad itself is trying to find what is the original cause for all this. So therefore, even in the Jiva is in the creation, and what is the original cause for everything is Karanam. And we are talking about Upadana Karanam. Upadana Karanam is that from which the whole universe came, and it's sustained by it. And both Visishtadvaita and Advaita accept that it's the Brahman himself became many. and how they became many only differ in terms of the explanations, but he is also Upadana Karana, is accepted both by Visishtadvaita as well as the Advaita. Now the question is, if one became a many, how did it become many? We told you there are two types of transformations. One is transformationless transformation, another is a destructive transformation. And Visishtadvaita believes in the destructive transformation. Advaita says it's only Vivartavada, means it is transformation. And what's the scriptural support for it? The scriptural support is in the Chandogya Upanishad. It mentioned about how the whole universe is nothing but Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam. Just as Lohamicheva Satyameva. It says Yekaina Lohamanina Sarvam Lohamayam Vignata Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam. So it gives you three examples to illustrate it is a transformationless transformation or Vivartavada. It's not a Parinamavada. Parinamavada is like a milk becoming into yogurt, whereas Vivartavada is gold appearing as many ornaments. That is the how the scripture itself defines how one became many. It remains as a Brahman. At the same time, what was there is only varieties of names and forms, just as a ring and a bangle and a necklace. So why should I know this Adhishtanam? Because that is a substantive knowledge. Because other ones is only, one is a Karanam, others are Karyam. Karanam is Ekam, that means one, and Karyams are many. And Karyams are essentially superficial attributive content of the Karanam only. Why? Just like the ring and a bangle and a necklace and a bracelet are all essentially superficial names and forms of the gold only in different forms. So since it's a Vivartavada, the Vivarta transformation, that is only apparent modification. What is substantive is only gold. How much ring weighs? Ring doesn't have any weight of its own. There is no ring substance there. It's only gold only. So the weight of the ring depends on the weight of the gold. So what is substantive? Substantive in English means noun. What is real noun is actually that from which it came, by which it sustained, and into which it goes back. It is the material cause, and that's what is the Karanam. And in the Vishnu Sahasranama it says Karanam, Karanam, Karta. So that is, Vishnu is both Karanam and Karta also. So he is both the intelligent cause, Karta, and also he is the material cause, Karanam, and also instrumental cause. So that is Karanam. So Karanam, Karta. So both, all are nothing but one only. One became many. So if I know one, I know all other things. I have a substantial knowledge of all other things. So Ekam is Karanam and Anekam means many is Karyam. Ekam means only one. So Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. Knowing one, I can know in a sense everything else. I may not know the details of every ring and a bangle and a necklace, so on, but I know the substantive knowledge I have once I know what is the nature of the gold. Because there is no other substance like a ring substance or a bangle substance or a bracelet substance. Substance is only one gold. So if I know the substance from which it came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back, then I have substantive knowledge. Therefore, the Karanam, knowing Karanam, I know everything else, and the Karanam is the very substantive knowledge of it, and the Karyam is only superficial knowledge. So all objective knowledges of what a scientist talks about is only superficial knowledge. He cannot have the substantive knowledge, because substantive knowledge is imperceptible, because it's cannot be analyzed by using the objective tools. Therefore, he may deny the presence of it, but the fact of the matter is, that's why the scripture alone becomes a pramana for understanding what exactly is the cause, fundamental cause for the creation of varieties of names and forms. So therefore, it is one, and the Karyam, the products are many, and it is substantive, other things only superficial. It's called Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam. We're going into details only because the Advaita Vedanta is scripturally supported also, and that's what we have to be careful in terms of when we look at the criticisms of Advaita. So next point is, when we say it is knowing one, and that because that which is changeless alone is a karanam. That which is changing cannot be karanam. So ring can become a bangle and bangle can become a necklace. That is a destructive transformation, and that cannot be karanam because it's past and another one has come. So that cannot be nityam and it cannot be therefore satyam. That which is changeless alone is the substantive, and that is essentially fundamental law of conservation that we mentioned. So therefore it is one, and karyams are many, and it is that which is substantive, others are only superficial or superimposed, and the third one is it is the nityam, means it doesn't undergo any change, and that alone is real. And the fourth aspect is that alone is the satyam. The other one comes under asatyam. Why? Because this alone is real, other one is not really real, it's only apparently real, and that's what Krishna talks in the second chapter of the Gita. He says, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayo rabi dushtantaha tanayo tattvadarshanaha. The one who knows these two clearly, what is Sat and what is Asat, and what is real and what is apparently real. There in the Asat is used in the term of the apparently real, or what Advaita Vedanta calls is Mithya. And that alone, the one who knows, Ubhayoro vidushtanta tanayu tattvadarshana, the one who knows this exactly is the one who knows the truth. And therefore, we are talking about what is the absolute truth, or what is the cause for the whole creation. And therefore in the jiva also, when the 5 points, 5 components are there, the one is that is the substantive component is nothing but that pure existent consciousness alone. So from the scriptural point, it itself became many through the process of 5 subtle elements and 5 gross elements. So even the subtle body and the gross body is nothing but Brahman only, but in the form of Sat Swarupam, or in the form of existence, whereas in the form of consciousness it occurs as the original consciousness and also reflected consciousness. Also the substantive is original consciousness only. So why we need to know that? Because that is the substantive knowledge. Everything is only superficial knowledge. Therefore jiva involves in the 5 aspects of it: the original consciousness, the reflected consciousness, then the karana sharira, and the sushma sharira, and the gross body, or the sthula sharira. I'm using Sanskrit words, but basically the original consciousness, the Chidabhasa reflected consciousness, and the causal body, and the subtle body, and the gross body, which we have analyzed each one, and that all other bodies only superficial on top on the substantive, and the substantive is nothing but Brahman, and that is essentially original consciousness. So therefore, when the equation, when Krishna says that the Kshetrajnam chapimam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata, Kshetrajnam is the jiva, because the one who knows the field of this, because I know I am this, so I am the knower in each field. So in each local individual jivatma, that is Kshetrajna. Kshetrajnam cha apimam viddhi, know that I am the Kshetrajna in all fields, and therefore Krishna's declaration there is that central is original consciousness that I am. We are talking about Mam. When Krishna says, we are talking about the pure consciousness. It says Maya tadabidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. From me only everything came. So that original source of Mam is what we are talking about. So therefore, if I know that Mam, if I know that which pervades everything, then I have the substantive knowledge of everything, even though I do not have the superficial knowledge of each and every one. So when in the statement as what is that which is causing the problem, or what is the jivatma, and when you say jivatma is same as paramatma, where is the equation is validity of the equation, we are not equating the superficial aspects that involves this causal body, the subtle body, and the sthula shariram, any of the bodies, or the the gross body, subtle body, or the causal body, or even the Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. We are only equating the essence of both, essence of this, and Ishvara is also, he has to be conscious entity and conscious of, and his upadhi is nothing but Maya, and therefore we are looking at, he is called Sarvajnaha, Sarvashaktiman, and that's what we do in the puja, all glorifications of the Lord Ishvara. So when we say Tattvamasi, you are that, we cannot really equate Jivatma is equal to Paramatma. Equation is only valid at the substantive level, and superficial level the equations cannot be. Therefore it's called Bhagatyaga Lakshanam. That means we have to discard that which differentiate these two and only equate the essence, and the equation is at that level, and that is a statement also in terms of Kshetrajnam Chabhimam Viddhi Sarvakshetreshu Bharata. So therefore, when we look at the criticism of Advaita by Bhagavan Ramanuja, so we have to look at these aspects and then critically look at whether the criticism itself is valid or not. So we need all that understanding, otherwise we will not have crystal clear understanding of what exactly the scripture is trying to point out. Now we go into more details of what Bhagavan Ramanuja criticizes and the validity of the criticism, where exactly Visishta Advaita differs from the Advaita. We need to have a clear understanding, then we can decide what is more applicable or logical also. So therefore, now we go into the more details of the criticism, or what Bhagavan Ramanuja says in the Sri Bhashya. So about seven untenables against the Advaita Vedanta about the avidya. And these are very important to know because they are very logical questions. At the same time, one has to use a very, very subtle intellect in order to see what exactly he is trying to point out, and where the validity of the criticism, and what exactly is alternative, the definition of how he overcomes of that, and we need to know which one is more valid. With that, we'll stop and we'll go into the next talk. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.